Sinuous.
Fire. Back off the streets.
Yeah. This album consists of a bunch of tracks that didn't make it to official releases, and still dope enough to wanna put it on repeat quick. So peep this, throw us in your CD player. Oh, I forgot they non-existent, dog. Shit has changed major. So scratch that, throw it in your iPod player. Like, my God, he right hard, a ball on you figures. Yo, they throw back, so give it away for free. Like, oh boy, go and make noise when you hear. Hope you jump for joy. I'm optimistic, glass ain't half empty, it's half full. Hopefully by now you know me from the Jazz Council, that was years ago. So I brought more fire to doubt stools and playing by house rules. I lay back like a couch crew. I'm not.
Microphone 1 on, microphone 2 I think is on. Patrick, can you talk for me?
Yes.
All right. I think we're in action. Guys, sorry about the delay. We're here.
Yeah,
Mike and Patrick.
finally.
We made it. What is going on? Okay, so the internet gods were being assholes today, but we made it through anyways.
Yes.
Whew. Patrick, cheers.
Cheers, man. I can't see you. It just your camera just turned off. But cheers.
The internet gods continue to fight us. Let's see how it goes. I can see you and hear you fine, and so I'm hoping that everyone in the chat can as well. We got Olika here, Jafar, Erica, Oleg, Clark, Vlad. What's going on, guys? Hopefully you can see us both.
All the cool guys.
I know, all the cool guys are hanging out today. Feel like we're part of the cool club.
Oh, Erika, Amore.
Oh, we got some new people. Oh, Eugene is here. What's going on, man? I just saw your note. It was good to hear from you.
Eugene?
Dude, Eugene is the man. Opened the D2 last year in such incredible style. Absolutely loved it. Blew me away.
Yep.
All right. Rock and roll. So we got some people going. I doubt that you need any introduction, but a short introduction to anyone who doesn't know you. Guys, this is Patrick of Alt Shift. He is the man. He makes lots of art that's rocking, does all kinds of cool things, including a ArcViz Quarantine Cribs edition of his home, which was just the most amazing thing.
Which my father hated, by the way.
You know, you can't please everybody. Usually you'd like to keep your parents on the pleased list, but you know, what can you do? You can't win them all.
No, yeah, but I got some messages from my father in the middle of the night that, think about your clients. What if a client sees it? And yeah, okay, so I guess I have to deal with that then.
I mean, I think if a I don't know, it's hard to say, but I feel like if a client said that, it'd be like, those guys look like fun.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that this is the message for them.
But, you know, I mean, how many developers are hanging out on ArcViz chats anyways? I think we'll be all right.
Sorry, I can't hear you anymore, man.
Oh, well, this is going to be a fun day.
Now you're back.
Yeah, it's going to be an in and out kind of day, I think. I think that the internet system's really getting taxed to its full capacity.
Yeah, I guess so.
Globally,
but
I think
we try
right
it.
now.
In case it breaks up, we reconnect, and I guess all the people here are really patient.
Yeah, they're pretty used to things not quite working very smoothly on this stream, so I think we're going to be all right. So, folks, if you have any questions for us, let us know. We don't have any specific plans of what we're going to talk about today, though we have a few ideas. But let us know in the chat, and otherwise, we're just going to talk about whatever's on our mind. Art, artwork, CGI, ArcViz, industry. What's on your mind right now, Patrick? You got anything coming?
The first thing I wanted to know is what beer are you drinking? What kind of beer? What's your beer?
You
man?
can see that
Because
we're in quarantine. I'm on Budweiser right now. Good old American Bud Heavies.
Okay.
I'm as American as I can be right now. Like, this is a little bit of America.
I'm on Warsteiner, good old German beer, and they imitated some microbrewery thing. It's called Warsteiner Brewers Gold. It's good.
It looks fancy. I would expect nothing less of a German, or really anything more of an American on my behalf. I found most of like the fancy beers out here, you have to buy them like 4 at a time, and you know, given the times that we're in, I need the big boxes. So I got a couple boxes of Budweiser sitting over there.
Yeah, I have to tell the people here listening what you told me. because Mike told me a few days ago. Sorry that I'm telling Mike. Mike told me a few days ago that he went to the liquor store and paid hundreds of bucks for whiskey.
Yeah, that is accurate. That is not I mean, we're in trying times right now. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Nobody wants to go through this shit entirely sober.
It is how it is. And
I don't want to go to the store more than I have to. So I figured one big trip, but get a bunch of bottles of whiskey that I'm a huge fan of, stock up on the beer situation, and I'm hunkered down. I'm good for at least another month, I think.
Yeah, I tend to get all my to fill up my weekly beer reserves every 2 days. So.
But you're not supposed to be going out that much. How are you even doing that right now in the quarantine?
We are not really in quarantine.
You're not?
We have just this in Germany. We just have this kind of new law that they said that we have to keep 1 meter 50 centimeters distance to every other person, and that we just can meet with 2 persons with that distance in between.
Okay, we're not on like official like military lockdown here in the States, but we're not supposed to be going out unless it's like an emergency. So like. Basically, the things that they've kept open is like obviously like medical services, grocery stores, obviously, gas stations, liquor stores in most states have been put in the essential business category, so they're staying open, thank God. But
liquor stores are essential in Germany as well. I just saw a documentary about that.
Last thing we needed is a bunch of sober, angry people.
Yeah, and it's life-saving. Really, it's life-saving. I have lots of beers in the fridge. I mean, when we did this Crips video, it was just 5 left. I know, but it really made me think when I saw my own video. 5
if shit hits the fan, what are you gonna do with just 5 beers?
Yeah, it really made us think.
Yeah, I coincidentally keep all of the whiskey in the office, which might not be. I mean, this is kind of like the kids' safe zone. So it makes sense to have it in here, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous. I like my office quite a bit. Where's Mike? In his office. He's just stocked up on whiskey.
Do you have a whiskey aside, or are you just on beer?
No. Would you like me to have a whiskey aside?
Maybe later.
Okay.
But I would love to know these 18 people listening to us what they are drinking at the moment. I guess that at least 50% of the people watching this are drinking.
I mean, I hope that my audience is higher than... Guys, we need to figure this out. I hope that more than 50% of these people are drinking. Otherwise, why have I been having a beer at noon every day? I mean, come on now.
Yeah. No, where can we catch up? Because we were talking on Monday or Tuesday. Oh, there are people... Oh, yesterday it was gin. Clark says a Wild Range IPA. Oh, okay.
Eugene's got some red wine going. Fantastic. Olika's got Hofbrau. There you go. IPA from Clark. Fantastic. Corona from Juan. Patrick seems to have frozen. Hopefully he'll come back. See what happens. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Well, we'll see. We got beer. I mean, yeah, I don't see anyone not saying alcohol, though. So... Guys, way to do me proud. I appreciate that. Massimiliano, that is fantastic. I do have 2 bottles of Aperol and 1 bottle of Campari. I don't have any of the Cynar that I like so much here, but I'm all stocked up to keep things happy. I have like spritz like maybe over here. I have it maybe like every 2 weeks. Me and the wife sit down and have it. Erica, it really depends on what you got going inside of that tea, I guess. But hey, if everyone else is drinking. Gin o'clock. There you go, Ian. That a boy. I'm not sure what happened with Patrick. Let's see if I can fix it. How would I fix that? I think I just have to wait. Massimiliano, I love Cynar. I can't really say it. And I haven't been able to find it here yet, but let me see. How do I get? Boop. Bum, bum, bum. Let's see if we can get him back. Don't mind the blank screen. I'm still here, folks, but you can't see me if you can't see him. And let's see what has happened here. Let me call him back. Let's see. End this call. I'm still here, folks. I know it's black on the screen. I don't really have like a things aren't working screen. That's what I need. Let's see here. Maybe we'll get Patrick back. I think we're getting him back. All right. Booyah. And we're back, folks. I discovered in that little hiatus that I should figure out some kind of waiting screen because I can't use my camera if I'm not in a chat because, oh Lord, technical difficulties. Either way, welcome back, my friend. We were talking about spritzes in Venetia, and I think that you may have frozen again. I wonder whose internet it is. Can you guys still hear me? Maybe it's time for that whiskey. Might be. Okay, I think you guys can see me, so we're having a problem on Patrick's end. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get something for you guys to kind of look at over here. Whilst we get this sorted out, I think I might need to get myself a whiskey. Okay, let's just put this. That's kind of fun. It's something to look at. Let's see here. We will give you guys this to look at. I made this actually in Venice, Massimiliano, while I try and figure out what's going on. Oh yeah, let's get some tunes on. That is a good call. That way, if I'm figuring things out and I stop talking, you guys know that at least one thing's working. Or you'll know when it's not working. Hey, Patrick's back.
Yes, I just checked my internet connection and it's working perfectly. I have a downstream of 40 and an upstream of 15. It's okay.
I mean, what we're seeing is the technological world come to an end. All right. I did set up like a little waiting screen of sorts. But I can see him again. I mean, it could be the internet here. It could be Discord. Who knows? Who knows? Too many things. Anyways.
Let's try it.
Yes.
If it breaks up, I'm really sorry. I know that 19 of our friends are watching, but I just checked everything and it's working. It's working properly.
We're just gonna cross our fingers.
I don't know.
You know, maybe it was the whiskey issue, and you can see it arm's length from my desk. We have my favorite. So we'll not tempt the gods of fate. My Lagavulin, my personal fave.
Maybe I get a whiskey as well. Give me a second.
You get a whiskey. Maybe I'll talk about my love of the old Lagavulin smoky whiskey. Nothing like a little campfire in your whiskey, am I right? Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, let's put that over there. I mean, at this point, we've appeased all the gods that we could possibly appease, and hopefully it'll go smoothly from here on out. Patrick, my good friend.
So,
cheers.
I got a JP Weisers.
Ooh. I don't think I've had that.
I guess it's a Canadian triple barrel.
You like it? Is
It's
it good?
good.
I'll try it sometime.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, let's get this thing started right.
I needed that.
Clark, you are absolutely right. Clark says more booze is the answer to all internet problems. I'm going to go with him being correct on that.
Yeah, definitely. I guess Tanya is watching our stream as well. She's not here in the room with me, but if she hears us and if she can see it, I'm running out of beer. Let's try if that works.
Tanya, we are just drinking coffee. Yeah, I got all the appropriate beverages here. Just coffee. No worries.
Maybe if she hears it, she can. Let's see.
You're hoping in an hour from now, magically beer reappears.
Yeah.
Wait, so
Okay,
we
so
were talking about something I find really, really interesting that I want to bring up, which is you for a long time were doing everydays on your Alt Shift Instagram, which if anyone doesn't know, there's a link for it. It's amazing. They do really cool
It
stuff.
worked.
That's the coolest use of internet ever. Tanya, you are a beautiful, wonderful woman. My hat
Okay, yeah,
is
we
off
were
to you.
talking about everydays, Mike.
We were talking about everydays. You did everydays for how long did you do everydays for?
I did them for around 450 days.
So like
I
a
guess.
year and change.
Yeah, till I was sick and tired of it.
And if it's not fun, it's not worth doing.
No, it was just it was an experiment. I was learning a lot. I wouldn't say I was learning a lot in terms of skills, but I learned a lot in terms of self-discipline, because it was something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I saw the stuff of Mike, and I met Mike.
Mike,
people.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
I was really amazed by him, and yeah, and then I tried it, started it, and did it.
And you did it for a year and change. I mean, that's impressive. To you, my friend.
Cheers,
But
man.
one of the things that like students ask me a lot is how to get better. Should they do everydays? And I tell them not to do everydays. I've never tried to do everydays. I've never tried to do like any consistent. I'm gonna post something every day for more than like 3 days in a row.
Yeah,
But my position's always been if your goal is to improve, making everydays will definitely help you improve, but you can't practice something specific in that time frame, because you have to do all of the scene setup and everything to actually get it posted and like make an image that you're proud of, as opposed to if you're going to spend 2 hours practicing, if you're not posting anything, you don't need to finish any rendering, you don't need to worry about whether or not it's going to be embarrassing or not, and you can just focus on whatever skill or talent or task is that you're trying to improve. So I'm kind of like against everydays as a learning mechanism, even though I have a huge respect for the people that do it. But I've never really talked in depth to people that do it about their experience. So what, as far as like the art side or like your improvement in image making, what would you say you learned from it?
yeah. As I said, when I started it, I was thinking about, that will really sharpen my skill set and everything, but in the end, that wasn't really the case. I learned a lot of non-technical skills from these everyday stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to be creative, like really, really fast. How to come up with ideas really fast.
Yeah.
How to decide really fast.
Because decision making is a hugely underrated like soft skill when it comes to digital art, any creative industry.
Yeah.
So, but like your images, I mean, they definitely improved over those 400 months. I mean, or 400 months. That's a lifetime probably.
Yeah.
But like, one of the things that we were talking about the other day was that like you kind of discovered like a palette that you guys really like, or that you really like, as far as like color and kind of like there's like a kind of a soft, beautiful feel to your images.
Yeah.
That do you think it was the everydays? Do you think you would have found that without doing the everydays?
No. I guess that's exactly the point. There are two ways of learning. The one way is learning new skills, learning how to decide. But the second thing I really loved about it is that you learn things about yourself. You get to know yourself better when you're doing it, because you have to do it every day. So you realize when you're in a bad mood, the images get either shitty or they get really dark or something. So if you take a look at our Instagram, you can really read on the images what kind of day that was for me.
Yeah.
So it's something where you really learn a lot about yourself. That's I think that is even more important in doing this everyday shit, because honestly, when I see our everydays, they are colorful and there's some funny stuff in it. There are some shitty and easy ones. Even I have to admit, even some everydays were like 10 minutes, and I
It's
know,
like,
yeah,
I need to get something out to keep this streak alive. What's
Yes.
the least time you ever spent on one of your everydays?
Whoa, the least time. Let me take a look. um,
While you're looking for that, let me catch up with the chat. We have some folks having some whiskeys with us, which is fantastic. Clark, here's to you, buddy. Jafar, I would go with Scottish whiskey. I like the smoky stuff. So not just Scottish whiskey. I like the stuff from Islay that tends to be like a campfire. There is a really good Irish peated whiskey from Connemara that I also really like.
And I see the question of Milan, who was asking if I have some rakia in the house. So yeah, I have shitloads of rakia in the house.
Wait, you need to fill me in. I'm not sure I know what rakia is.
Rakia is because Tanya, my wife is half Serbian, and rakia is the stuff that they are drinking, the schnapps. It's,
okay, gotcha.
The one that I love is Slivovica. I think we probably get some comments on that.
Is it flavored schnapps? What does it taste like?
No, it's made. You're still there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, okay. Because your camera went off again, but okay.
That'll happen, I think. That's just the kind of day it's gonna be.
No problem.
I can still hear and see you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and they make it out of it's like Milan says, it's plum brandy.
Oh, okay. Well, next time
And it's amazing.
in Europe with you, we'll have to try it.
It's really good.
Did you have to cut that from the video because of harsh judgment of your choice of brands?
Sorry, now it got. Oh, now I hear you laughing. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so let's do the other comments, and then we're gonna go back to to everydays. From Ian, we got, for me, I focus on quality more than quantity, and I give the work a theme of what I want to learn. So for now, it's fighting in 3D specifically. Would it be wise to do that? For my part, that's generally how I practice, right? Like, I try to practice a set amount every single day. I try to do like 1 hour on something. I don't post almost any of it because I'm trying to make sure that I'm spending my time practicing. And then the stuff that I make, I don't really post anything just because I feel like I have to post it. I post it only if I think it's something that I like and am proud of. But I'm also a perfectionist, so I don't know if I'm the best example for that.
Okay.
But let's talk about practice after we get through the one-a-days, because, you guys... We're gonna go. That's gonna be what we're gonna talk about next. But one-a-days, the least time you've ever spent on a one daily.
The least time, I was just looking. I think it was around, honestly, 5 minutes.
Hell yes! I bet you learned a lot that day.
Yeah. I learned that I don't want to do this anymore.
And so now that you did it for 400 plus days, and now you don't, but you do still post personal images. You just posted a really cool one for Fabio's current contest with the Macintosh. Some kids playing with nukes, because why not? Absolutely loved it. So you still make a fair number of personal images, and they tend to be, I feel like, kind of like the similar ones to me, in the sense of, I sit down if I feel like making an image and I make something and I post it. Like, it's not like I've been working on something for 3 weeks or anything like that. It's like, oh, I had an idea, I made it, here it is. But you guys, Alt Shift started, what, 3 years ago? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
2.5 years. Yeah.
Right? And at that point, you guys were pretty new to, like, visualization altogether. Your background was in design, correct? Am I mistaken on that? I'm an architect. I studied architecture, and I worked as an architecture from I think till the end of 2016. Then I went to a design agency because I knew that I was good in designing stuff and in making it look good, and I hated the hierarchy in the design agency, so I thought, man, because I know Fabio now for like 10 years or something, and so
I knew that Fabio was starting
you and Fabio were friends while you were still an architect.
Yeah. Fabio and me were friends while Fabio was still an architect.
Oh, that's really going back.
Yeah, I know Fabio for, I guess, 10 years now. Yeah.
Awesome.
And yes, and then I went to this design agency. I worked for them, and I didn't really like the job in such a hierarchy. So I went, when I did this job, I went to my first D2. I think it was in 2016, and it was the time where we met, Mike, the first time, and you were working for D-Box.
Yeah, and Chop. Oh no, I think I was at 3 Marks at that point.
Really?
Either way, but everyone knew me from D-Box. Still do.
Yeah.
That was the one that where Chop spoke, correct?
Yeah.
That was the first D2 I ever went to. It was awesome, and I've been hooked ever since.
And that was the point where I decided,
So that
that
was 3 or 4 years ago. So that's a huge jump, right? To go fully from designing into image making. Like, did you ever have an actual practice regimen? Like, the work you guys are producing now is gorgeous. I assume that it wasn't that way 3 years ago, or was it?
No, I just started. When I told it to Tanya, she was like, "Yeah, do it. I'm gonna save your back. I'm gonna earn some money for the first year." So she stayed in her interior design company. She's an interior designer, and she gave me the chance to just do it, and it worked out. I just started with 3ds Max and tried to sell images. They were really crappy at that time, but it kind of worked out.
And so they were crappy then. They're awesome now. Like, what was your kind of path to improvement? Was it just being critical of your own work and trying to learn? Did you do any online courses? Like, what did you do to kind of level up to where you're at now?
Are you still there?
You got. Oh yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Sorry.
Did you hear my question?
It was this website formerly known as Digital Tutors, which is Pluralsight now.
Okay. I feel like I recognize Digital Tutors. I don't recognize Plural.
Yeah, and this is what I got a subscription from Digital Tutors at that time, and I just started to learn everything and started to sell images. That is basically it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just learned by doing. Sorry, I had to burp.
You're on the right podcast or live stream or whatever this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Time to drink and talk about art. Yeah, that's basically what this is.
Oh yes, yeah, and that was basically my path. But the thing that was a bit different, as for many other people, is that from the beginning, because I was so new to 3D, that I wanted to do everything. I wanted to try stuff from motion design, from cinema to Max to Houdini, and so at this time I started to learn everything, and I never stopped to kind of try to learn everything. So we are doing motion design, ArcViz, product viz, everything. So this story made us really versatile.
Right, you're still doing some branding. You did branding for D2. You've done some cool like product stuff for or cover stuff for bands. You're kind of all over the place as far as like where your industry is, which is something that like where your work is, which I think is amazing. Not to just be working in architecture or just working in product shots or whatever it might be. You guys have like your hands in a lot of different pies in a really, really beautiful way. How did that happen? Was that just the work that came your way, or have you guys been seeking out that work, or did the dailies get like just more eyeballs on your stuff? How do you come to doing like ArcViz VR thing and then some dude's band poster? How did that happen?
Honestly, I don't have a fucking clue. Really, I don't know. I think the best thing that happened to me when I think about it now is that I worked at this big design agency, because in the design industry there's a huge how do I say that, if lots of people get hired and fired, and you have this come and go like really fast.
Yeah, a lot of turnover.
Yeah, a lot of turnover. Yeah, so I met a lot of different designers, a lot of different people, and I liked a lot of people and found a lot of new friends in that agency. And so when they all left, they went to other agencies, and they knew, there's this guy who wants to do 3D, or who was practicing his 3D stuff, and maybe let's try him. And so it's just mouth propaganda.
Yeah,
if I can say that like this.
It works for me. I mean, I've never sought out a client. It's always been people I've met or worked with, or that I worked with someone that they knew, or whatever it might be. I mean, that's awesome, and it's really inspiring, because it sounds to the way that like I kind of like simplify and store your story is you liked making images, you started making images, you kept making good images, right? And like just always trying to get a little bit better each time. Like that's at the beginning. I have a much more like regimented or disciplined like practice routine now than I did when I was at D-Box and like just learning 3ds Max and trying to figure things out. But that's because life gets more complicated. If I want to continue practicing, you need to kind of find the time for it. But back then it was just like, I'm just gonna keep trying to always do better than I did last time. Was like basically my sleep deprived.
Mike, I have a question. I have a question for you. What I was wondering.
The tables have turned, my friend.
I think most of the people know that you worked for D-Box, and now you're doing 3 marks, and you're Mike, the Droki guy. Mm-hmm. But where are you coming from? So in a business way, what was your journey before D-Box? What led you into it? And I really don't know it. It seems like.
I mean, before D-Box, immediately was grad school. I have a master's of architecture, and I did that, for 3 years. But I knew at the very beginning, like 1 semester in, as I was learning like Rhino and Photoshop and 3ds Max, or not 3ds Max at the time, Rhino, Photoshop, V-Ray.
Did you love Rhino? I love Rhino.
I loved Rhino, dude. I was not pleased when I left Rhino. Like NURBS modeling made more sense to me intuitively. But I knew very early in architecture school that I didn't want to be a designer. I interned 1 summer for one of my professors, Matthias Holwich, who runs HWKN, a really cool design firm in New York. And I didn't like designing in general. I was really slow at it. And I was not good at designing for somebody else. But I loved the image making part of it. Before that, I mean, I have an undergrad in philosophy, worked on fishing boats in Alaska.
That kind of suits you, man.
I played poker and sold cars for a little while in undergrad. So after grad school, I worked for D-Box. And that was like my first real job out of grad school. And so I was there for 2 years, got to work really closely with Matthew and Keith and Martine, and just learned a fuck ton in those 2 years. And then I worked for Thomas Johansson in-house for a year and change. And then I started 3 marks. I've been doing freelance like the whole time, kind of like moonlighting, just doing as many projects as I could find. Usually like 1 to 4 image projects, just in after hours. And then I got a 30 image job, and me and my friend Mike Cloudman did it. But when we got that job, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm out. I'm doing this my way now. And that's when 3 marks started. And I was trying to think of it. I think that was 6 years ago. Okay. Maybe, I don't know. I'm so bad.
And it worked out. It worked out.
Yeah. Still happily working in an office that's fully stocked with, whiskey.
Awesome. Awesome. But I want to get back to Rhino. Is there anyone in the audience who also loves Rhino? Because when I started to use Rhino, I was in my studies I was always seeing the stuff from Zaha Hadid,
Yeah.
and I just loved it because Zaha Hadid is she. Maybe a lot of people will hate me for that or laugh about me. I don't care. But Zaha Hadid was the reason why I studied architecture. I loved her buildings. I loved their designs. And so I was always in study. I was always asking myself, how do they do that? How do they create such cool forms? So I got my fingers on Rhino and Grasshopper and directly fell in love with it. I wrote a book about Grasshopper, by the way.
I knew that through the grapevine, but we've never spoken about it. Grasshopper is amazing. I haven't used it in years and years and years. Back now, it's integrated in Rhino, correct?
Yeah, it's fully integrated.
Yeah, I was there back when it was one of their labs, Rhino Labs or whatever it was, experiments. But I went to grad school at Penn in Philadelphia, and a lot of the professors there. Do you know Ali Rahim? Have you ever seen his stuff?
No, your voice was just cut off.
Oh, Ali Rahim. It doesn't matter. He's his. I forget the name of his and his wife's studio. They do a lot of like academic architecture. They've only built a couple of things, and most of them have been interiors. But like the overall aesthetic at Penn, at least when I was there, was emulating the Hadid style, I would say.
Yeah, that's what we all tried back then.
Yeah, and so we got to do a lot of stuff that was like mixing like Rhino with like morph shapes in Maya, or I was using Modo at the time for that, like the actual like sub D stuff.
Yeah.
But Rhino made sense to me really quickly, and when I had to switch to Modo and then later to 3ds Max, that was way more of a struggle. As far as like
the switch to 3ds Max from Rhino was a pain in the ass, man. That was. Took me quite a while to catch up.
Do you still use Rhino and Grasshopper for anything?
Yeah. I'm using it for all of the repetitive and variation algorithm stuff. So if you for example, I used it we did a project for Audi in Shanghai.
Yeah.
And they wanted to have a thing called the Brixel facade. So you have this chrome metal bricks turning. There are thousands of this Brixels in the facade, and they are all turned different.
Image of this?
I don't think it's public, no.
Okay.
But
keep talking.
And the algorithm. No, it's not public.
Okay. Anyways, so keep talking about it so we can hear about it.
Sorry, it's sometimes it's just cut off. So I'm waiting for your voice and it's just gone. So.
My apologies for that. Not my apologies.
No. I think it's not you. It's the internet.
But so you were working on this in Taiwan and you used Rhino for it. You were saying.
Yeah. I'm using Rhino still a lot, even for some more complex Booleans. Rhino is the way to go.
Oh yeah, Rhino loves Booleans. Max hates them. Pro Boolean my ass.
Max hates them, but quick tip or short tip. You guys should all install Tyflow, because there's this one, even if you don't work with Tyflow, there's this one amazing modifier called TyBoolean, and it works always. It always works. It's amazing.
I've been meaning to check out Tyflow and play with it and haven't, and if we can get some Booleans working, that would be fucking amazing. I'm
really check. There's if you once you installed Tyflow, there's a new Boolean modifier called TyBoolean. It is amazing. Really, try it.
I will. I absolutely will. Yeah, we have. Oh, yeah, you're probably right, Clark. You said internet issues. We're not drinking enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You know,
What is Clark drinking?
Clark was drinking IPA, if my memory serves me correctly. Maybe he switched to whiskey with
I
us
guess
as
he
well.
isn't anymore.
Vlad
Maybe
says
he got
Max
another
is
one.
still my first love. Never forget Mental Ray. Olika, I actually always liked the interface for Rhino. And maybe that's because that was like my first 3D software. Like when I got to Max with like the tabs all over the place and everything else, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Why do I have to change tabs to do the things that I want to do all of the time? That took a while for me to
Now,
get
if
used to.
if you want to try something really easy, like Eugene said, try Houdini. That's like Houdini is a bit, it's kind of SketchUp, but a bit easier.
That's the first time I've ever heard Houdini described as kind of like SketchUp, but easier.
Houdini is fucking insane. I mean, I'm learning Houdini now for 2 years, and I just scratched the surface. It's insane.
Do you do any scripting or coding in any language or reason, or do you write any code?
I tried to. I tried to learn Python, but I have a huge problem. I'm not a patient person, so I'm really fast in getting used to new software and in learning new software.
Mm-hmm.
But coding takes time, and things that take a lot of time are usually not my friends. So I guess the coding thing isn't. No.
I started coding in grad school. Do you know who Roland Snooks is? He has a firm called
Roland Snooks from Kokujia.
Yes. So he was one of my professors, and I actually kind of worked for him for a little bit right after school.
He is insane.
He's awesome. His class.
I have to write that in the comments.
Yeah, you write it in the comments, and I'll pull up a couple images here. Open link in new tab. So he taught a class called Swarm Intelligence, which was done in processing, which is like a really cool, very simple. Google Images, you're the worst. I'm gonna switch to my screen for one moment.
Yes.
That transition so people can see. So the Swarm Intelligence class does a bunch of stuff like this. And it's all obviously code generate. Oh, I thought that was going to be bigger. That's not the coolest one. This is pretty cool. Now open image in new tab. Oh, dear Lord.
Now that stuff is amazing.
That's the man himself right there. Can you guys see that? Hopefully you can see that.
He has a nice haircut.
He does have a nice haircut. And he's a charming...
Like Eugene. Eugene, if you can hear me.
In that class, it was really cool. So everything was scripted. And it was scripted in processing, which is like a code-based art program, I guess. I don't know how to describe processing. It's really cool, pretty simple to learn. You can get really wild examples from it, because then you can take that into Rhino, and it's a pretty simple piece of Rhino script to bring it back in.
And you can combine it really easy with Arduino. This is quite cool. Because
really?
I tried to learn processing as well as I tried to learn every programming language, and didn't do it in the end. But processing in Arduino is great. You can do a lot of cool stuff.
And his position was I really enjoyed his kind of like pedagogical philosophy, which was that this work, it's more important that it's interesting than beautiful. Like, we're interested in how you're thinking and how you're using stuff. I wish these images popped up bigger, but he's like, but if it's not interesting, it needs to look cool, and either one's okay, either interesting or beautiful. But he started me with coding, and I don't remember exactly why I started down that path. Now that we've kind of diverged in it. Oh yeah, so he started with coding, and then I've done a lot of Mac scripting since. And from everyone I've talked to who's like big into Houdini, having some type of scripting background or formal logic background will, if you naturally think that way, learning Houdini will be much easier. So I'm actually really intrigued by it. I just need to find the time. Maybe.
Scum.
Oh, come on, internet. Here's
And there
baby.
and you're back. Your voice is always coming back when you're kind of shouting.
It's a volume thing. The internet appreciates me being loud.
Yes.
Cheers, my friend.
But I have some other thing. Maybe Mike, what are your top 3 tips that nobody in our industry know? Some really cool quick tips. Like the shit I just said with the tie boolean. Do you have this kind of small tips that you think people should know?
Nick color effects in Photoshop. You can set up, if you ever seen me working, like at the end of every project, at the end of every image, or sometimes at the beginning of every image, I run like 3 Nick color effects presets, and I just kind of like dial down the opacities.
Can you type it in the chat?
Oh yeah, it's not Nick color effects anymore. I think it's, let me figure out who it's actually by. Nick color effects, well, I'll just type it in. Color effects pro. You can do a lot of editing really quickly with that. You can also overdo it. You can kind of ruin things. And you need to do it in 16 bits. It has a tendency to produce banding in 8 bits, I have found, at least for the way that I use it. But I think like my number one thing is that you can run, if you have a couple presets in there that you like. Generally, there's like 2 that I run on every image I make, and I just dial down the opacity of how much they affect an image. But they do a couple of things that like is part of how I like images to look, and they do it quickly, and they kind of, because it's algorithmically done, it has a tendency to kind of break up the natural tendencies of CG renderings, right? To give it a softer feel. So I think that that's the first thing that I use very, very heavily. I should probably do one of these on Nick color effects, but I love it.
This is you just said that it can produce banding.
Yes.
Do you know how you can get rid of banding? I didn't know that before. Maybe it's totally stupid, but I was always asking myself, how can you get rid of this stepped banding effect? Mm-hmm. And you actually just throw in noise.
Yeah.
This is something I didn't know. I was buzzed.
I actually, when I was at D-Box, I worked on a bunch of like editorial large format images when I was there, where we were like really looking at pixel to pixels. And so I spent weeks playing with like how to match noise from a photograph to a rendering, and how to get the 2 to blend together so you don't see a texture change in the photograph, like the overall texture of the image change from one to the next. And so like adding noise, and a lot of times you have to do a couple levels of noise, right? Usually, like if it's banding in a sky, which is where you see it the most, a lot of times you need to blur the banding, add like a larger noise, or add 2% of noise, blur it like 0.8 pixels in Gaussian blur, and then reduce that until it looks about right, and then add another layer of noise, like 1% Gaussian monochromatic noise, to the entire image, and it'll step it away. You know, when it says like in Photoshop, when you use like a gradient and there's a checkbox for dithering.
Yeah.
Dithering is noise. It's adding noise to the gradient to prevent those stepping, or try to.
Okay, I'm learning. I'm still learning.
Noise is the last thing that I do on every single image that I make. I add noise, or I add film grain, one of the two.
I just Eugene just wrote in the comments that even if it doesn't have banding, always throw on a ton of noise. Yeah, okay, I will do from now on.
Well, that was one of my favorite things about Eugene's talk from the D2, was he's all about like rough and dirty, right? And like keep it abstract and beautiful. And the thing that I loved about that, and that kind of philosophy in general, is that the more abstract something is, the more that the viewer has to imagine it for themselves, right? When you take an image and make it black and white, that's a level of abstraction. Obviously, we don't see in black and white, so when you look at a black and white image, you have to interpret it. It's why every high school student who does photography takes their first black and white photograph, and they're like, oh, I'm artsy. And to some degree, there's some truth in that, right? Because black and white is naturally abstracted. Same with, like, adding noise, and, like, Eugene adds all kinds of crazy, like, very stylized, like, noise and, you know, flaws into his image, or his shorts. And the result is that you get like a very emotional experience from it, even though technically you're degrading the quality of the image or the film, right?
Yeah.
But done artfully, it can create such an expressive experience and an immersive experience that, like, super duper polished, super duper clean, which is kind of like the direction my professional work tends to go. Like, doesn't do it for me nearly as much as like noisy. Right? Like,
no, it really doesn't. It's the same in. I mean, Mike, you're also an F-Storm user, as I am. I mean, we are fully on production with F-Storm, and I really tend to dial down the ray threshold so that it that there is some noise left always, because this completely noise-free images tend to look not too natural for me. So our images, even the images we give to the client, are always with a bit of rest noise.
Yeah. Like there's always a moment when I'm working on an image, and usually I have like a 2K interactive, you know, frame buffer up, and I'm never actually letting that resolve. I'm just looking at it long enough to see whatever it is that I'm trying to tweak or fix or adjust. And then there's always like the points like, okay, this is good, you know, 5,000 pixels wide, hit render, walk away for an hour, and then I come back and I look at like the full, perfectly resolved image, and it's like, it's always a letdown when the noise disappears.
Yes, always. Yeah, totally.
You know,
totally.
and so I'm like, this does not
it's
look nearly
pretty
as
simple.
good as it did when it was rough, right? Like, leave something to the imagination, what noise effectively does.
And the reason is so simple, Mike. It's just look at a normal photo. There's some noise in it.
There's always noise in it.
Yeah.
Right? Always. Eugene.
That's also the reason why this
analog hellfire, which I fucking love. Analog hellfire in a digital world, baby.
I just one other tip came in my mind. There is one tool I wanted to suggest the people. It is called Pixplant. Do you know Pixplant, Mike?
It rings a bell, but I definitely don't use it.
Pixplant is the coolest thing on earth. You can just download a fucking Google image with all the royalty, of course. And it creates, you load it into Pixplant, and it creates a seamless texture out of this one image, and a normal map, a depth map, everything. And it's working really, really good. I write it in the comments.
Oh. I've been using Substance Alchemist for a lot of that.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't.
One of the things though, so with all this ideas though, before we go to Pixplant, Ian mentions Nuke, the 3D node-based compositor.
Yes.
Super expensive, unfortunately.
It's the Foundry, isn't it?
Yeah. Who owns Moto now, and apparently they're complete assholes. If you guys are pirating software, Nuke is not one to pirate. I've only heard nightmares.
I heard about that.
That they're really on to catching people and making them pay in severe ways. But Nuke is primarily used in film and for VFX shots and compositing, right? And not only is Nuke great at things like adding noise, adding cinematic film grain, all of those kinds of things, but the film industry as a whole really understands that, like, we're gonna hide the scars, right? Like we're going to use crushed blacks, or we're going to use blown out highlights, or we're going to add, film grain across the whole thing, or whatever it is, like more motion blur. They hide, if you take like a still of a raw rendering that's used for like Hollywood level VFX, it's obviously CG in a lot of cases, right? Yeah. Because they know that when everything gets comped together and you have all of the noise and the blur and the all the different bits thrown into this thing, it's going to look beautiful, right? In a heavy color grade and a lot of atmosphere and a very strong kind of visual position. That I think in ArcViz we're like, no, it's going to be clean and perfect, and there's not going to be a color tint, and there's not going to be a heavy vignette, and everything's going to be bright from corner to corner. It's going to be pixel perfect. It's like that is fighting an uphill battle all the way through.
Yeah, but this is because take a look. Who are our clients in ArcViz? they are architects are raised to be perfect, or to try to achieve perfectness in their buildings, in their details. That's everything. So yeah, I think it's wrong for our images, this attitude. Yeah.
I mean, I just think that there's a lot of ways that you can cheat and get a better end result, right?
Refill.
It's a double win. Maybe you just didn't pour enough in the first place. You underestimated us. Well, let's see if there's anything else that we need to. Oh, Eugene, yes, the noise in F-Storm is super beautiful. It's very filmic.
It is. It is.
Olika, when your light cache pass looks somehow cooler than the final rendering. I remember, especially like back in like V-Ray 1.6 days. I really remember like looking at the light cache, being like, "This is fucking gorgeous," and then it would render out and be like, "This looks garbage."
Do you? Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Sorry,
no,
there was a delay. Sorry. Do you remember the days? I mean, 2.5 years ago, I wasn't completely new to everything that is 3D. I have to admit. Yeah, our studies, in my studies, I was rendering in Rhino and with V-Ray a bit. And do you remember that time when you started V-Ray years ago and you didn't fucking know where all these fucking splotches came from? And there was a white wall and there were like black dots on it. You Googled it, you tried everything, irradiance cache, everything, and it always looked shit.
It didn't always look shit. Like, I worked in production with V-Ray.
In my work, it did.
Like, when I started at D-Box, and we were using V-Ray 1.6 at the time, and producing, I worked exclusively with V-Ray when I was at D-Box. But you definitely had those like random times of like, what the fuck is this weird kind of coastline pattern going on? It's like a fractal border to the shadows or whatever it might be. And then you go through and you have to start tweaking maps, and then in those days, like, brute force was so resource intensive and time expensive that we never really used it. But those days are gone. I mean, and regardless of whether you're using V-Ray, F-Storm, Corona, whatever else, render engines are super easy now. You don't need to understand even what in the Radiance map is, let alone how to use one, and you're probably not using one.
But in my opinion, you should at least have the urge to understand what's going on under the hood. So this is something. I mean, take a look at F-Storm or V-Ray GPU. There are not too many settings anymore. So I think this little bit of interest one should have.
I agree to some degree, like, and I definitely am the type of person that like cares about understanding those types of things. But I feel like you don't need to anymore. Like, you used to need to create good work. And nowadays, pick a render engine that does what you want it to do. And if it's a kind of a black box of mystery, as long as the results are good, man, like, you don't need to know it anymore. It's a wonderful world in that you don't need to understand anything besides, like, basically resolution, right? Like, what size do you want to render the set? Is kind of the only setting you really need anymore. On like,
and you need to understand it.
Yes. And if you're rendering things and you're worried about DPI, that conversation is so old. It's not 300 DPI.
that DPI conversation is amazing. I think everyone in the audience knows that when you rendered an image and then the client calls you that he had a call with the printing factory and they said they needed in 50,000 by 200 million billion gazillion in 500,000 DPI, and you're like, what the fuck? We did always do it like this, and then you're just opening Photoshop, scaling it up, sending it to them, like dialing in 300 DPI, and they're like, oh yeah, this is what we need.
Much better, much better.
Yeah, it's way better now. And the coolest thing is you can even charge that.
You are analog digital hellfire right now.
Like Eugene said.
Eugene is loving how you look at this very moment. We can still hear you fine. I'm assuming that it'll resolve itself. Maybe? Who knows? But it's actually kind of beautiful. It's like beautiful glitch artwork.
Oh, this is such a cool glitch.
I know. I kind of want that as an effect. Eugene
this
says
is
you
cool.
look better.
Yeah. Honestly, I have to admit, it looks
you're
better.
Back to you.
Oh, am I?
I wish that was just like a filter that I could throw on, like true digital mayhem.
Oh, I have to. I don't know if Tanya is still in the line, but I emptied my second bottle of beer.
Oh,
Maybe she can hear me from somewhere.
and now you're even a completely different digital glitch.
Yeah. Oh fuck! What the fuck?
I mean, I just kind of feel bad. I wish I could be there with you in the digital mayhem. There
Yeah,
we are.
but is it still there?
Did you change your hat? Have you been wearing a hat with a green underside the entire time? Oh yeah.
No, it's the same hat.
Yeah,
Oh, this is, by the way, it's another cool tip from me. Please look it up. It's my favorite label from the UK. They are called High Focus. They are doing kind of underground hip hop. Check them out. They're amazing.
I don't know them.
Tanya.
Tanya.
Tanya just brought me 3 beers.
You know, usually we stop after an hour, but I feel like we're talking about tips, and everyone loves tips, so we're just gonna keep going. And that hat actually reminded me of one of my favorite tips, and it's not a CG tip; it's a photography tip. So you'll hear about this as much in like photography blogs or how-tos or whatever else, but it's something that I think ArcViz and CG artists generally don't understand. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. By the way, I got an oat white IPA at the moment.
That seems very American.
Yeah, it's from a Hamburg brewery, but I didn't want to interrupt. Go, continue, my friend.
So, and on Sunday's stream when we were, evaluating Fabio's contest images, this came up in a lot of images, at least from me, which is that the golden rule when you're using an actual camera is to protect your highlights, right? Like, you can forgive shadows that fall into black and get crushed and disappear, but highlights that are completely blown out just look amateur. They look like shit. If there's no color, if you have stuff in your image that's 255, 255, 255, it looks like fucking garbage.
Yeah.
And so whenever you're exposing your scene, and obviously we have the luxury of all kinds of fancy tone mapping algorithms and everything else, but like if you're doing, and this is where you see it the most, I think, at least right now, if you're doing that blue and pink cyberpunk kind of aesthetic, right, all kinds of neon, those neon lights should not burn out to white, right? At their brightest intensity, it should still be like a very saturated color. And
Which is tough to achieve, Mike.
It definitely, the software wants to push you towards white all of the time, right? And keeping colors in those highlights and making sure that they don't get blown out entirely will make your images go from not very professional looking to very professional looking very quickly. Yeah, I mean, I got the triple threat over here. I got whiskey, beer, and because I only woke up like an hour and a half ago, a little bit of coffee as well.
Oh yeah. Okay, go for it. Mix it.
I got everything going. And here's another pro tip. As long as, we're having booze and talking about pro tips. You know what's delicious in coffee? A little bit of absinthe.
What?
Yeah, I stumbled on it the other day. Absinthe in coffee turns out to be absolutely delicious. At least for me.
But doesn't absinthe taste like licorice?
Yeah, there's kind of like that anise black licorice flavor to it. You want, if we have a coffee this big, we're talking about a little bit of absinthe. Just a little dab will do you. Most of that stuff's like 140 proof anyways. But it's, for me, amazing. Eugene.
So, yeah.
Wait, Eugene, he's talking about aces. And I don't know how people actually pronounce it, because I've only talked about it in forums or in chats with Chop, of all people. Because he's all about aces. Color space, which gives you all kinds of flexibility. But it seems like so much fucking work to use. I just try to get it right in the frame buffer. My philosophy is I don't give a shit how clamped my data is. If it looks good in the frame buffer, I'm almost done.
Yeah. Same for me. My workflow is always like tweaking shit in the frame buffer, like tweaking the burn value. That's the most important thing. And what you said with 3x255, never have burned out highlights. I just turn down the burn value and increase contrast. That's usually what I do.
I, especially not for like quick personal projects, one of the things I've been doing a lot, for a while I was using 3D Lut Creator, which I still like a lot. Recently I've been using Resolve, DaVinci Resolve, especially for client projects where I'm making a bunch of images, where when I get the first one kind of looking right, I'll do like a big grade in Resolve on like a still image and output a 3D LUT back to 3D and use that. Which
can you write LUTs with Resolve?
Yeah. So you can use.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay,
so you
another
use
tip, Mike. Thank you.
You can use all of like their crazy powerful color editing tools, and then write that. And it's never 1-to-1, right? Like when you bring it back to either FStorm or V-Ray or whatever you're loading the LUT into, it doesn't come back perfectly, but it gets you like 90% of the way there, and you can do really complex edits, right? Color-wise, color and contrast and tone-wise, and then you don't have to do that again for any of the images in that project. But I generally only do that if I'm looking at more than like a set of images that I want to all feel to have the same like tone and color and grade to them. Wait, we got more. Clark.
Yeah.
Clark said he liked the aces. I have not actually tried it. I've just stayed away from it because it seems like a hassle, and I try to ignore hassle. I try to avoid it at all costs. Olika, in these times, a little booze in your morning coffee, nobody's judging you. Well, no one's judging me, but I don't know how many people know about it. Now, at least 19 of you do. But yeah, you can also export LUTs from Photoshop or Affinity. 3D Lut Creator actually has some color tools that are really cool, especially if you're going for a stylized image. You can do some things with 3D Lut Creator that I'm sure you can do with DaVinci Resolve since it's industry standard color software. But I don't know how to do it, and it takes me longer to try to figure things out. 3D Lut Creator still does some things, especially if you're going for like a very painterly, like split-toned harmony or like an analogous harmony. You can do some things inside of 3D Lut Creator that are just fucking mind-blowing.
I have to admit, I'm always really lazy in terms of creating LUTs or something. I have my 3 to 4 LUTs I'm always using, and they almost always come out good.
And like, I think to some degree, like, the thing to understand, I think, with LUTs, or the things that get frustrating with LUTs for me, is that you use like the ones that are provided for you, and your work is going to have like the same touch and feel as anyone else using those LUTs, if that's kind of like what you're relying on to give your feeling, your image a feeling. Whereas if you create a couple of LUTs that for yourself, which is what I would advise people to do, that like if you and I like the same scene and we're both going for the same atmosphere, we're still going to do it differently. Like your natural
Oh, yes.
inclinations as far as like how saturated it is, how contrasty it is, how much they're going to be different, even if we're both going for like the same target.
Yeah.
And so if you create your own LUT or set of LUTs for kind of like your typical cases, you can set those to your natural inclinations of working, right? And so they'll look better on your stuff, and they'll also have your touch and feel to them. And then, yeah, reuse them from now until tomorrow, absolutely. But for client projects, especially big ones, I recently did a project that was like, it was a product shot for a graphic design firm. So I was doing like a bunch of packaging and branding stuffs. And like the key color was like this bright orange, right? And like getting that orange perfect was like a bunch of back and forth. How much this? A little bit more red. How about this? A little bit less blue. Like, right, getting it dialed right in. And so you do that with a LUT though, and then you have that nailed in the raw rendering, right?
Yeah.
And like, anytime I do something for a client that's like completely different from what I'm usually doing, I'll create a new LUT for it. Or for a big like 30 image project, I'll generally like kind of pick a couple of skies that I really like and set up a LUT for each one that brings all of those colors together.
Next question.
Oh, yes.
Shortly. What are your favorite HDRIs? What are your favorite and best and most high quality HDRIs? And also to the guys in the audience, what are the best HDRIs?
So
maybe you know this feeling when you're creating a new image and you're like, whoa, I'm gonna take this HDRIs from the last time, and you take it and it looks like shit. Yeah.
We did name this Nerdrant, and I forgot to put it in the title. I'm going to change it
Oh,
after
yeah.
we're done. We did name this Nerdrant, and I feel like even though no one else knows that we had named this Nerdrant, we are definitely living up to it, which I'm very happy about.
Yes.
But I use Peter Guthrie's HDRIs pretty much exclusively. And I'll put a link to it. I mean, if anyone from ArcViz knows this already, but just in case there are some of my concept friends, and Ian, who I know is in the chat, is not a ArcViz guy. He is a matte painter.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. I use Peter Guthrie's skies almost exclusively. They're very I shouldn't say they're very consistent. They're somewhat consistent from one to the next as far as flipping things together.
The newer ones are, for me, way better working.
Yes. He continues to improve them, and they're also, the newer ones are at like 14,000 pixel resolution, which means you only have to replace them if you want to like change the sky.
Do you know the ones from 3D Collective?
I know of them. I've never used them.
Really cool ones. Really good ones.
Is that what you use? And then Eugene is throwing in GSG metal HDRIs?
Oh, yeah, the grayscale gorilla things. Okay.
Oh, grayscale gorilla. Yes.
Yeah.
My head went somewhere else. I've not used them.
No, me neither.
HDRI Haven, Clark says he's using. I have a few of them from them because I bought them because I liked the way they looked, and I had a really tough time getting like the levels of like sunlight to actual sky background. I try not to replace the background as much as possible. I like having that come from the HDRI. I had a lot of trouble with HDRI Haven, but admittedly, I did not spend a lot of time. My patience level on trying new things for stuff like that is like, does it work? Tweak, still doesn't work. I'm fucking done. I'm moving on to something that works, that I know how to work. I misspoke there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find I don't use they're, of all the images that I've created in the last 2 years, I've probably only used maybe 15 different HDRIs.
Oh, I tried shitloads, but as you said, the best ones are the PG Skies. Peter's HDRIs are the best, and after that it's 3D Collective, and there are some others from, they are called Mediterranean Light or something like that. they're also pretty cool.
Mediterranean
They're,
Light. I know that name.
Yeah, Mediterranean Light, and they're really, really good. But that's
I will give
basically it.
I'll give another little. Oh, you can't see it at all. Inside of, I think Peter Guthrie, if he's listening, which he probably is not, but someone here might know him. And maybe I'll send him this suggestion. I'm going to send him this suggestion. Inside of my PG Skies folder, right, for HDRIs, I've relabeled all of the skies. He names them by time of day, right? So like 1347 is like 1:47 in the afternoon is when he took the
Which
photo.
I find logical, Mike.
It's very logical, but the problem that I find is that when I'm looking for an HDRI, I'm usually looking at it based off of angle, right?
Yeah.
And so all of my skies, if I'm looking here at my skies folder, they all say like 2.2_0839 cloudy dawn. So that if I'm looking for something that has a sun that's a little bit higher or a little bit lower, I can look at them in order of from dusk, 0, right?
Yeah.
Up through, I think the highest one I have is 46 degrees, right? But they're reorganized based off of sun, zenith or not azimuth. Azimuth,
Yeah.
Is that the height?
Azimuth.
It's azimuth.
Azimuth.
But what I do find is way more helpful than like trying to find the perfect sky. If I can get like the light to kind of feel right, that's where I start messing with white balance and contrast and the gamma of the sky to actually get the light and the environment fog color, to get it actually to do visually what I want it to do, as opposed to finding, right? Because if you think about, like, let's say you want to do an overcast day or like a foggy day is a blue sky at some level of height, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so,
it depends on the turbidity and the ozone. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the absorption and the distance. And so for the most part with the sky, I'm just trying to dial in the angle that's giving me shadows where I want them, and then I'm using atmosphere and color balance to get like tone, feel, and like actual like atmospheric conditions right. Which I guess that's not like a quick tip, but I frequently guess at the first sky I put into a scene, and it's very often I don't even try other ones. I just spend a bunch of time like toning in all of those other conditions that I have an idea for in my head. That happens a lot.
Mike, do we have some time left?
I mean, we've been over time for about 25 minutes here, but I have time.
There are still 17 people, but I have more questions, and it's fun. So, and I have some booze.
We have booze. Today is apparently, I mean, it's nighttime over where you are. It is 2:00 in the afternoon for me, and I woke up at 11 in the morning.
It's 8:20 here.
Yeah, that's nighttime. That's evening. But hey, we have quarantine. It's a day drinking day.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I wanted to ask you because it's a Nerdrant, and
Before you ask the question,
yeah,
people in the chat, we're gonna have to rely on you to tell us when we should turn this off.
Yeah.
You let us know when we've gone on too long. But I think I feel like there's some good information here. Let's continue.
Okay, yeah, cool. Because it's fun for me. It was the same thing before we had our talk in Vienna at the D2. Mm-hmm. I was shitting my pants. Even today, before I went online with you, I was shitting my pants because
which, to be
normally
clear for everyone in the audience, Patrick blew it out the water. The laughing muscles by the end of their talk were like, "Don't say any more jokes, Patrick. Please don't say any more jokes. I'm in pain from laughing." Patrick and Tanya knocked it out the fucking park. But yes, they were nervous as shit beforehand. Oh. And we have more internet issues. So, I guess that'll be the drinking game, right? Like, internet issues means we need to have a drink. I don't know if Patrick can hear me right now. I think that you guys probably can, because I feel like I have a decent feel of what's actually happening in there. Eugene, They rocked it, right? But you also got that whole weekend started amazingly. Those were my two favorite presentations of that particular D2, yours and Patrick's. I shouldn't say Patrick's, Patrick and Tanya's alt shifts. We're just talking to Patrick right now, and his better half, emphasize on better, is listening. Hi, Tanya. You are the best. Thank you for keeping Patrick filled with beers. I'm just hoping that Patrick comes back at some point. Maybe he'll write into the chats. We'll see what happens. Olika, I totally agree. They need to put that thing online, but I think that they still give it from time to time, or at least I know they gave it, I think, a couple of times. That's always kind of a tough thing. Having done a decent number of those types of talks, you put all of this time and effort into like preparing it, and then you do it, and then it's done. And you generally you want to use it a couple of times, because if you were to give like a unique talk every time you gave a talk, that's a losing, at least financially, that's a losing proposition. But hopefully at some point they will put up some form of that talk, because it is incredibly awesome. Oops. See, now you guys get like a hint. You see the split screen here? That's my vertical monitor saying Patrick is gone. Okay, let's switch you back to this. What I need to do is create a proper thing. I kind of like this. Here you go. This is a not pretty analog glitch. Let's see what happened to that, and then we'll transition. That is going to be your waiting frame. And we already have some music lined up. Let's go ahead and put on some Sinuous, who is the man. So we got some tunes whilst we wait or figure out what has happened with Patrick. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, he'll be back. I know he'll be back. He's typing. Oh, I got a call.
This album consists of a bunch of tracks that didn't make it to
Okay.
official releases, and still dope enough to wanna put it on repeat quick.
Patrick is back.
Yes.
Okay, wait, I put on some tunes for the folks here.
And there's still 18 people, man. That's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, we're finally getting to the... Who knew a little bit of whiskey and a couple of beers would get us to give away all of our top secret trade secrets?
But I guess it's how it is. It was the same at D2 when nothing worked. We tested it like 3 times before and it didn't work in our presentation.
But the presentation went amazingly. So while you were gone, basically all I was talking about was how much I enjoyed your guys' presentation. That yours and Eugene's, who's in the chat, which is awesome. Those were my two favorite presentations of that particular D2.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, but you were. What was the
we had
point
some
you were
fun.
getting to? You were saying you were very nervous beforehand, which you were. I remember that.
Yeah. I was really nervous. But Tanya and me, we had two shots before, so it was okay then.
It makes it easier. Not so much that you lose control, just enough that you take off the edge. Oh, Jafar.
No.
I'm sure this would degrade terribly. Though I do think, I'm trying to do these like every day as like a means of the idea of starting this live stream was just like, I know I'm already losing a couple of jobs, or they're putting on hold. I'm gonna have a little bit more free time in my schedule than I'm expecting, and everyone likes some diversion that's talking about arts. And so, if you ever want to come back, well, we're not done today, but I am saying, and I want the audience to support me in this, that Patrick should come back and we'll just have drinks and talk about tips.
Yeah, maybe we should have another Nerdrant next or the week after, however you like.
I mean, the people that listen to me normally they're used to me saying like, all right, guys, what do you want me to talk about? Because I am out of ideas, and modeling is not something I want to spend time talking about. So yes, let's definitely do that. But let's continue it now that the internet is working again for the time being. What's another of your favorite tips?
I have to admit that your voice for me is really cut off at the moment. Let's try to to optimize.
I mean, how are we optimizing? More drinking?
Yeah. That's what I meant. Well, I have to. I
doing
like
backwards.
half of the things you're saying are coming to my ears, and yeah, the rest my brain has to make up. So to make up.
Well,
Let's try it like that.
People in the chat seem to be a fan. Would be cool to go over techniques. We can go over techniques all day long. We're not set up to actually do anything. We could do it where one of us is doing stuff and the other one's talking.
Oh yeah,
That's an idea for the future. But for right now, talk about, like, you have your hands in much more software than I do, right? Like, I feel like you have the attitude that I had like 7 years ago, which was like, I want to learn everything. And now I'm like, I know the things that work for me and I'm going to work within those bounds, which is probably not a good mental space to be. What's one of the weirdest things that you've tried that have loved in the past year?
Like the weirdest thing in terms of software?
Software or software techniques. Like, it doesn't have to be a piece of software, but like, I feel like every time I check in with you, you're like, oh, I just tried this and it came out with this amazing, this in Houdini or this in Tableau or whatever it might be.
Yeah, honestly, like the weirdest thing I'm doing at the moment, and the weirdest thing I ever did is I.
Oh no, that's the worst place for that to pause.
It didn't really go away.
You
so
paused.
I was started to worry,
You have to go back to.
and so I did an MRI scan on my head. Are you still? Can you still hear me? Because
we couldn't hear anything up until basally I did an MRI scan on my head.
No, I can't hear you anymore.
No, nothing.
Maybe you guys can hear me.
Oh Lord. I can see you and hear you fine, which means
gone.
probably
I think
audience,
it's Discord here.
I'm pretty sure the audience can hear and see you just fine. Just as a heads up.
Fuck. I can't hear you. Let's reconnect. Let's reconnect.
Okay, we're gonna throw on some sinuous.
Yes, I'm back.
Oh,
Can you
wait.
hear?
Yes, I was turning on music.
Okay, and it was such a bad moment for cutting off the connection with the MRI scan and the set MRI story.
all we heard was the coolest thing or the weirdest thing I've done in a while, and then it was paused for a while whilst I was talking, and then so I did an MRI scan on my head. That's
Yeah. Okay. Are you still there, Mike?
I am
Sorry.
still here. When you lose me, I don't lose you. I'm not sure what's going on in Hamburg.
I don't know either. I'm just constantly checking my connection, and it's really good. That's what it says. So, but I'm in Germany, and Germany is a like I think Germany is probably the worst country to live in terms of internet.
Yeah, I can't verify that, but Massimiliano is saying Discord server sucks. It does suck, but it's easy to get both pictures, right? If we use Skype, we only get one picture, which means either Patrick can't see me or you guys can't see me. And I don't want to pay for Zoom because that shit seems like a fucking shit show.
I have to admit I use Zoom.
I've used it. I don't pay for it. I use it when I'm invited to a Zoom meeting. Oleg, you might be right. Oleg thinks the connection's getting drunk. That could be the thing. My wife's going to be like, what the fuck happened during your live stream? Why can't you help with any of the child, of the parenting duties?
So I was telling about the MRI scan.
Yes.
And then I got when I did this MRI, I paid it on my own because I wanted to get like a really fast appointment, and I didn't want to wait for my health insurance, and because I was really worrying, and it was kind of headaches I never had in my whole life before. It turned out in the MRI it was nothing serious. It came from the neck muscles, and then I got this CD. And there were MRI files on the CD. And I was like, hi, what the fuck? How can I use these files for making a 3D model out of it? Are you still there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm fascinated.
Okay, okay, and yeah, and then I did some research, and the files on the MRI CDs are called DICOM files. DICOM
Okay.
is a medical file format, and so I did lots of research on that, and I downloaded some medical university tools and software pieces and shit, and I was I was diving really deep into this DICOM file format and medical file format, and so I managed to get 3D files out of it.
Which is crazy. Like, it's a 3D file of what the doctors were looking at.
Yeah, and you have to know that the files are not 3D and they are not really volumetric. It's just they are just layered photos.
You went beautifully analog. Yeah, because MRI works by slices, right? Like an onion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say that this is probably the craziest thing I ever done. And so I collected lots of MRI scans from friends and even Peter Guthrie.
Did he send MRI files along?
Yeah, he sent an MRI of his arm. He sent MRI files of his partner Henry. Lots of people sent me their MRI files. Even guys, if you have some MRI files, please just zip the whole CD, send it over via WeTransfer to me, and I'm preparing an exhibition with all the broken bones of my friends.
Wait, so which 3D software did you ultimately like end up ingesting all of that data into?
There are a lot of different softwares. What was the name? The name of the software is Slicer. It's a medical software for generating some meshes out of DICOM files. It's generally used for building 3D prosthetics.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. And then from that, can you get something like an OBJ or an FBX or something like that, and then take it into?
Yeah, you can clean it up. You can clean the whole model up. Then it writes an STL for you because it tries to calculate the density of the tissue, of the bone, of the flesh, of the muscles, and then you have to dial in all the values. It's really, you have to do some research to do it.
Which you've clearly done, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's really funny because you learn a lot about this medical technology, which is quite cool. If you're creating cool artworks and you're learning about technology you never knew something about, it's amazing. This is what I call learning, not the everyday stuff. This is learning.
Well, they so my daughter now is 20 months old, but 2 years ago, when my wife was pregnant, we'd go in, to the OBGYN for the scans, right, to check everything out, the ultrasounds, and they're 3D now, right? Like, even when, like, Charlie was yay big, they were outputting, like, 3D imagery for us to look at. And, like, when they're this big and, like, the resolution of the 3D scanner going through all of the abdomen and all the things, like, it's pretty alien-like. And my wife's like, oh, when's it going to start looking like a baby? And me, I'm like, wait, so technically speaking, what type of tool are you using there? Like, I was fascinated by it. And like,
maybe you can 3D print your daughter, Mike.
I mean, there's a 3D file on some server somewhere. Like, the pictures that come from it, I don't have any handy, but like the not the ultrasound pictures. The ultrasound pictures we all like have like a pretty good like mental image of, right? Like, it's that arc, and then like you see like those like kind of like blurry lines, and like it's the shape of a child. The render output of the 3D scan is like it's some alien type shit. But it's fascinating that like they can look at this thing when it's super tiny, and then as it starts to grow, like to yay big, they can go through and they can look at the direction that the blood's flowing inside of the baby.
Wow. Yeah.
And so like that pulse is blue and red, and it's not about oxygenated or deoxygenated. It's about whether it's moving towards or away from the camera. You get like the amount of information they can get from 3D space is just like fucking mind blowing. Like the 3D scanners that we're using to, you know, scan a glass or whatever, is nothing compared to these tools that are going through like a couple of layers of like, you know, thick tissue and then picking out a specific thing and the direction that like the fluid of blood is moving in real time. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, it is. I can really recommend to dive into it. If you have an MRI CD at home. No, I don't recommend it. Send it to me, please.
Do not do it yourself. This is Patrick's thing.
Leave it to the professionals.
There was a
And Mike, but Mike, same question for you. What is the weirdest thing you ever tried in terms of your job?
Let me think on that for a second while I was going to tell a story that was relating to the last one.
Okay, yeah, of course, shoot.
I spent one of my semesters while I was in grad school, I did at the Architectural Association in London. And we were there for a semester. We had a pen teacher for our studio. And then all of our classes outside of that were AA classes. And I took a class there. Before I get to the class I took there that was really important for me, but there was a theory class, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he basically was taking 3D scans of organs and making them into architecture. I will look it up for you specifically. Like, I don't know. From my understanding, he wasn't taking like MRI data. He was taking like someone died, they took out the heart, they 3D scanned it. Here's a 3D scan of like this crazy intricate thing, make it into architecture. Either way, visually super interesting, but and spatially pretty interesting as well. But while I was there, I took a class called Painting Architecture with a guy named Alex Kaiser, and I had to buy a Wacom tablet, which I still have. This is my 10-year-old, still working wonderfully Intuos 4. It's awesome. And he just presented me with this entirely new way of thinking about how to work in Photoshop and how to think about design. And it really kind of all of the courses in architecture that got me to where I am, like that one was definitely the most formative. That was London. The weirdest thing that I've tried recently, I haven't been super experimental. I mean, I've been really working on painting and drawing.
Yeah. Did you ever paint the analog way? Did you ever do some acrylic or oil paints?
In high school.
Paintings.
Or technically in 8th grade, my parents moved me from the East Coast, Maryland, to Wisconsin. And I was really upset because, like, I had my friends in Baltimore. I moved a lot growing up. But when we moved to Wisconsin, I could stop. I had given up all sports with the exception of lacrosse, team sports. And I showed up, like, I carried my lacrosse stick on the plane to Wisconsin. And I landed in Wisconsin, and one of the airline personnel asked me what that was. They asked me if it was a broom. And I was heartbroken. I had to give up lacrosse because they just didn't have it in Wisconsin. And we moved into a subdivision that didn't have cable.
Okay.
It was a new subdivision. Cable wasn't there yet. And I was in 8th grade at the time. So what's that? 13 years old, 14 years old, somewhere in there. And so I was mad at my parents, and I was mad at the world, and I just couldn't even watch TV. I was bitter and angry, and I started painting, and I had a very bad attitude for that move, which was like one of 7 before I got out of high school. But the thing that I learned from it was that, like, I need to create my own diversion. So I started painting, and you know how I started painting? Bob Ross. Okay. Literally, I went down in the basement. Yeah, I went down in the basement, and I may have been high from time to time doing it, but I would paint mountains. And with like
and just a pretty little accident.
Hey, just let's give that tree a little friend. And I would sit there and I would do it with the fan brush and phthalo blue and all the things. Man. And
did you know that there's a Bob Ross toaster? It toasts the face or the head of Bob Ross on your toast.
I did not know that, but I want to wake
I
up
will
that way
post-
every day. Every day
I will
wake up that way.
post a link for that. I will post a link. Please continue, Mike. I just had to interrupt you. The Bob Ross toaster is just fucking amazing.
I mean, this is for the good of not just me, but the entire audience needs to know about this. If you want to wake up with, a little bit of butter and jam on Bob Ross, that's a great way to start your day. That day only gets better.
It's how it is. Yeah, I'm gonna post it in 3, 2, 1. Posted it now.
And the internet god said, and right now you will go analog fund. Hopefully you can still hear me.
I hear you.
And you're back. And so I did a lot of painting in both oils and acrylic and watercolor in high school. And then that kind of like disappeared for undergrad, my time after undergrad, and really, I've only in the past couple of years really gotten back to sketching, and most of it's been digital.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think if there's anything that's like weird that I've used. I don't feel like I've done, like, the longtime viewers of this quarantine live stream will recognize these images. Most of the drawing that I've been doing has been on my computer or on my iPad. But I've been doing a lot of pages like this.
I saw that, and
Draw
I
a
saw
line
that
between
in one
two
of your.
points, circles, just like moving cubes around, moving cylinders around, kind of like I've gone like way back to the fundamentals of drawing, and those are easy to pull up without trying to dig through the files on my computer of like what I've been drawing. And to be honest, I don't really want to share like the daily practice, because if I share it now, there might be an expectation that I'd share it again later. And one of my big things with my hour of practice every day is that I don't want to feel any stress or pressure that someone else is ever going to see this. Right? Because I want to be as free as possible to make mistakes and try things that I'm not comfortable with, because that's the only place where you learn and grow, is doing things that you don't know how to do. So I it's not stuff that I share. It's not stuff that I have any intention of sharing. Then maybe I'll cherry pick a few things and make like some kind of like, here's how I practice. But as far as like new other cool things,
I just wanted to show what happens when I'm on the phone. I just have to show you. When I'm on the phone, I get autistic. Do you have a camera image of me now?
I can see you, yes.
Okay, it looks like this. All the pages are getting like completely fucked up. I'm always drawing like really pretty autistic circles.
Which is a great drawing exercise.
It's really weird. I'm always doing stuff like this. It's
which is a great way to link like the mind and the hand. And one of the things that like I keep telling to everyone who's been listening is like, even if you work exclusively in 3D, you should do something in 2D, because when you're drawing, whether that's on a piece of paper or in Photoshop, when you don't have any ideas, you can just move your hand and scratch and make marks. And eventually, like, as your brain and your hand and your sight kind of gets entrained, things come to you that wouldn't come, at least to me, otherwise.
Yeah.
Clark, I did not have an afro. But I did have more hair in high school than I do now. The beard was shorter, and there was things up here. They were called hairs. They're gone.
Mike, do you still have beer?
I came very well prepared. I actually still have a fully loaded one. The real question is is the bladder length.
Yes, same here.
But
Mike, I have another really cool question, because we called it Nerdrant. It has to be a Nerdrant. What are your top three plugins for Macs? Not well-known ones.
Oh, that's a little bit harder, because like i2, Forest Pro, and Rail Clone are obviously the first.
Of course, but those are no-brainers.
Now this one I feel like would have been a no-brainer. The first one I'm gonna say would have been a no-brainer definitely 10 years ago, probably 5 years ago. But what I've been noticing in the workshops that I do with students, people don't know about Soulburn scripts.
Oh, Soulburn. Yeah.
And so I'm going to name that as my number one, and I'm going to type it into the chat. Those things have saved me years of time. And when I started, that was like the first thing I learned at D-Box was here's a couple scripts for like attaching things, getting material from a select, just a few things that you can use all of the time. It'll save you tons and tons of time. Ooh, I like it. We've gone neo-noir with you. So that's going to be my first one, and it's not a plugin, but it is freaking sweet. Second one is not, it's not the most this is a twofer, and I used it on a recent project, which is why it's fresh in my mind. There is a script on ScriptSpot named Catenary Generator, which will generate catenary arcs, which is what a wire forms under its own weight. And then, I'm blanking on the wire plugin that you can then wrap around it.
Yeah, you have to write down your top 3 so that everyone can download it.
Okay, so then I need to look up the names of these. Catenary Generator. 3ds Max. Oh yeah. Okay, so then this is like a 2-in-1. Catenary Curve Generator, and then Joker Martini's
everything from Joker Martini is fucking awesome.
Dude,
man.
that guy's off his rocker. Cable
Yeah.
strands.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
So that's my second one, and that's really because I literally, Patrick, you've seen it. I can't talk about it publicly yet, but I have a cool thing that I'm really excited about that will be out on Monday.
Oh, you should all stay tuned. It's fucking amazing.
I'm really excited about it. It was a really fun one. I used both of these for that. Joker Martini is all over it. And then for a third favorite plugin, I'm trying to think of, there's like the obvious ones that I feel like we need to mention but don't count for what you're looking for. Like obviously, like if you're not using Relink bitmaps, you're not using 3ds Max, right? Quad Chamfer by Marius Salahi is still better than the native one, even in 2020, maybe not 2021. He also has an array tool that I use a lot. There's gotta be, which one that's like unique?
Yeah, Alejandro just said Romo de Vivar, the quick attach tool. Yeah. Yeah, this is quite cool. I don't use it anymore. I tell you what I use instead, but okay. I just wanted to yeah.
I still have that installed and I still use it. I use Soulburn's attach most of the time because it's a one-click button, right? Like the quick attach that has like the menu that pops up and you have to do a couple of things is slower to use but much quicker to actually go through. So if I'm attaching like 4,000 objects, that script is coming out. I'm actually going to pull up my scripts folder and think about scripts that most of the scripts that I use on a day-to-day basis I've written right now.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that like Max script is not hard to learn. And so like I have a script that goes through, I obviously work a lot with kit bash kits.
Oh, Mike only uses self-written scripts. La-di-da.
Very fancy. But think about this. Like, if I want a script that's going to go through and just adjust, batch material editor? So you can adjust if you want to make your entire scene more glossy or less glossy or whatever else, you can adjust all the materials at once. Like I've written my own version of that script of the things that I like to change all of the time. Oh, dear Lord. We've lost Patrick altogether.
No. I'm still here. I just
Um,
have to turn on some light.
Oh, well now you were kind of like joining me in my low key moody vibes, but you know.
Yeah, oh yeah, no. I need some light, but I have this I don't know if you guys know it, this Philips Hue. I have this Philips intelligent Wi-Fi bulbs in
Well, look
in
at
our
Patrick with his AI intelligent lightings.
wait for it. I can do like this. Oh yes. Oh yes.
I mean, can you just set that to like cycle the entire time? It'd be like the
Oh yeah, of course. I can do that.
Oh, I don't know if I have
So-
any unknown ones, except for this is another one that people don't know enough. And every time I use it in a live stream, people are like, "Oh wait, how did you just move an object from one max scene to another max scene?" Right? Super.
Oh, you. Honestly, Tanya uses it. I always use like the hard way. I always have one file called my exchange file. I open another file, save the stuff I need in my new file, save it as an exchange, and open it in my other file.
So
it's like really
I
old
just-
fashioned.
No, but the link that I just posted into the chat, Patrick, does that exact same thing, but you just do it with a copy and paste button or keystroke, depending on how you roll. But like literally,
Which is cool.
it just saves a file to your scenes folder or your autoback folder, one of the two. That's just like merge file, whatever, and it just rewrites it every time you press copy with save selected, and then when you press paste, it just merges that back in. Like that,
Yeah,
it'll
okay.
save you years of time. I mean, like in any given month, that probably saves me a day and a half of time.
Yeah, I should probably try it.
I mean, it's literally doing exactly what you're doing, just in a fraction of the time.
So to say it here, it's on the first place for you, it's Soulburn script. On the second place, it's the curve generator and cable splines from Joker Martini, and the third place is the copy and paste script.
I mean, they're pretty simple ones, but they're efficiency ones.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if there's being simple doesn't mean that it's amazing. So you gave me time to think about what are my top 3
Yeah, this was not fair
scripts
at all.
in our Nerdrant.
You got time to think about it. I had to come up with things on the spot.
Yeah, of course, but you're way more experienced as I am.
I don't know.
No, I
don't know
I
what
would
you're
say my
insinuating there, Patrick.
no, I would really say my my number 1 script, as I am an F-Storm user, or my number 1 plugin.
Did something spill?
Right. Yeah, it was just my AirPods, but fuck it.
thought
No,
it was whiskey.
no, oh no, I wouldn't be online anymore if that would have been whiskey. Oh my god. So my number one script is, I would say, as I am an F-Storm user, it is called F-Storm Shortcuts.
Yep.
I write it down. Are you still there, Mike?
I am still here.
Okay.
I don't use actually F-Storm shortcuts because I've written my versions of them. Just kidding. But yes, continue. They are amazing. I know exactly what they are.
No, F-Storm Shortcuts is an amazing plugin where you can just throw in some. It creates HDRI libraries for F-Storm natively, and you can just select out of your list of HDRIs and just pull the slider and test the light. It is really fast for checking HDRIs and for finding the right HDRIs. It's really good.
Efficiency. Like scripts.
Efficiency.
Scripts for me are all about like how can I do things faster.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is for. So yeah. Number 2. What is number 2? I would say number 2 is Tyflow, but not in a particle way. Like I said, I mean, I love to learn Tyflow, and a lot of people say that, oh, you don't need to learn Houdini if there's Tyflow now. Of course, yeah, blah blah blah. But even if you don't use Tyflow as a particle simulating program, you can use it as an enhanced script. You can use it for Booleans, for everything. It's amazing. The modifiers that come with Tyflow are I use it on a daily basis.
That is enough of an endorsement that the next time that we have you on here, I will have a actual. I tried those things. Here's what I thought about them.
Yeah, we can have an introduction to Tyflow next time.
Oh, that would be amazing. Wait, and then I don't even have to do anything before then, because you can show me your favorite things, and then I can learn it.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah,
Awesome.
Next time we can do we talk without video, just with screen sharing, and we talk about our favorite scripts and our favorite tricks.
Hell yes. Okay, so F-Storm shortcuts.
Yeah.
Tyflow.
And number 3, what would number 3 be? Number 3 is. Let me just open Max. Okay, it's still open. Yeah, number 3 is the Pixar Moon bitmap resizing and tracking tool.
I almost mentioned that myself. I use it all of the time, and then I was thinking, is that useful for other people?
No, that was too easy because we both had it in mind. No, number 3 is a thing from what is the guys who created the Helix plugin, or they are called Spline Dynamics. Maybe you know them.
I'm not sure that I want to say yes, just like out of ego, but I'm not sure that I do.
No, it's called Spline Dynamics, and the tool, the plugin is called. It's like $20. And it's called Overnight Render.
Nope,
I write it down here. Spline Dynamics Overnight Render. It is basically everything that Autodesk Backburner is way too complicated in. So Overnight Render is it's basically a batch render tool, which is. It's working so good. Try it.
That's awesome, because I don't use Deadline because I just don't have a complex enough setup to warrant it. And Backburner is terrible.
Yes. So really, it's directly integrated. It's a plugin for Macs. It's running in Macs. It's how do I say that? Because I'm losing my English vocab at the moment because I get drunk.
Which means that this has been a success.
Yeah, it's suppressing the pop-ups.
Yeah.
It holds Macs back from creating pop-ups and errors, and so you can just opens your files automatically, renders it, opens the new file, and it's so easy. You can set it up. Tanya loves it. Tanya uses it all the time, and you can set up your it's like the name says, it's overnight render. It's amazing.
I have a couple ideas. One, at one point I compiled the scripts that I've written that I use all of the time, and I've not updated like that file publicly in a long time. So I'm gonna do that for the next one. The next one, I want you to give us an overview of how and why you love Tyflow, which I think would be fucking amazing.
Yeah, we'll Mike, you and me, we'll do a Tyflow live introduction.
Yes, and I can ask questions and have drinks, and you can be on the spot and show us things.
And have drinks.
Yes, if you'd like. I'm definitely having drinks.
Of course.
We have a question in the chat from Oleg, which is a funny thing, which is that I use this stupid triangle brush to draw in Photoshop. Along with making like the scripts that I use all of the time public again, I'll make that brush is literally a triangle with size set to pressure. It's the dumbest brush, but I fucking love it. We have been going on for 2 hours.
Yeah, I think I should probably go to bed.
I would like to say, Tanya, thank you for watching this whole time and making sure that Patrick behaved himself and keeping him well supplied in
and
beers.
thank you for bringing me beer.
Tanya, you are the best. Maybe she could be on next time if she wants to be on the camera.
Maybe I can try to
We'll work on that. We'll work on convincing her.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Yeah.
But I think that this one, we just gave 6 cool scripts that if you don't know any of them, you should know each of them.
Yeah, and you can write us on Facebook, or at least me. You can write me on Facebook or
Me as well. On
wherever.
Droki, not on Mike Golden. I'm getting all these random things on my personal account, which is just like, I gotta shut that down. Just Droki from now on. That's my new goal. That's my new plan.
Or spam him on his personal account.
Or yeah, now I just asked for it. Oh.
You asked for it.
But Patrick, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and its wild roaming topics.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And we should plan the Tyflow introduction for everyone who's interested.
So stay tuned to our social things, and we'll let you guys know for that. Thank you guys for hanging out for all of this time. Some of our favorite people in the chat, which is always great. Clark, representing the cause. Just Droki.
Yeah, Clark, Niklas, Eugene.
Eugene, you the man. Ian we had for a while.
Oleg.
Massimiliano.
Alejandro.
We lost a couple of people early, but I know they're still there. They're just actually trying to get work done, which, good for you. Stay productive in these dark times.
Yes.
But Oleg and Olika and,
Erika.
Eugene.
Yeah, I think we almost covered Milan.
Did we get all the
almost
names?
covered
I'll scroll
everyone.
through the chat. We appreciate you guys being here. We wouldn't be here. Jafar, definitely, you're here every time. We appreciate it. Milan, Luis, we appreciate you guys hanging out. You guys are the best. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And tomorrow, what day is today? Today's Thursday? Guys, tomorrow's Paintover Day on the channel. If you're still with us, we're doing Paintovers tomorrow. It's going to be fun. I got a couple of cool things that people have sent me. If you have something you'd like me to paint over or critique or anyway, shoot me an email or a DM or whatever you can find. But
Spam his chat with criticism.
Yes, please. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Patrick, so much for joining me. You can stay on the line for a moment, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time. It'll be fun. We'll be painting on some things. And Patrick is going to be back, and we're going to talk about Tyflow and other fun things.
Back.
We're ending on that. Perfect.